Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of my predicting / goals for 2022. If you haven't already seen part 1 where I name my mains and goals going into 2022, I will link that up here. Today I will be seeing whether I predicted the world records for 2021 correctly, and I will also be predicting the world records for next year. So if I predicted it close to correctly, I will highlight it green, but if I got it wrong, then I will highlight it red. So on screen here you can see that I have my predictions that I wrote down last year, and on this side we also have just all the world records. So starting off with 2x2, for most of these events I want to say that I didn't actually know anything about world records last year. Hopefully this year, since I know a lot more about cubing, I will be able to predict it closer to what it will actually be. So for the 2x2 world record average, I wrote that there would be a 0.87 average, and obviously that didn't happen, but we did get a 1.05 average. Yeah, this was way off. So here, I guess, obviously, this is going to be red. So for single, I don't know why I predicted it would get broken. I predicted these all assuming that they would all get broken, but obviously not. So this is also red. As you know, the world record wasn't broken. It's still 0.49 by this guy. I also predicted these world records hoping that you know what would be over by the middle of this year. Just keep that in mind when you see all this stuff. So for 3x3, I wrote the average would be 4.8 to 5.5, and yes it is. We're actually really close to a sub 5 average, so hopefully by next year we will have a sub 5 average, but for now, this is green, since I actually got something correct. Hey guys, Editor.me here. So I just want to clarify that the WCA hadn't actually updated the world record average yet, but at the time of recording I just somehow forgot that he actually got the world record, and since the WCA hadn't updated it, I just based it off of what you see on the screen, so sorry about that. And for the single, I wrote anyone fast would get this world record, which is kind of true, but this world record wasn't actually broken. It's still the same from this competition. So I'm just going to put this as green because it is 3.xx, but this will be red because technically none of these people got it. For 4x4, I wrote the average would be a 20 world record average, and the average, oh, it's actually a 20 average. I'm terrible at remembering world records, and I do remember watching this video of the world records. So for the single, I wrote 15. It's a 16, so not quite. However, I did get the world record holder correct, so I can put that as green. So now moving on to 5x5, I wrote there would be a 37 average. Oh, that was so close. That's a 39 average. And for the single, I wrote 32, 34. So the world record is a 34. So for 5x5, I was pretty close. I was just 2 seconds off from each world record. 6x6, I wrote 110. Ooh, 115. Wow. Okay, I guess I'm not too bad at this stuff. Except these world records were set last year, so that means he didn't actually break them, so that's kind of sad. But Max is still correct. At this point I'm just gonna put green for all of Max. Obviously he got all the big keyboard records. And for 6x6 I wrote sub 1. Nope, not at all. I have really overestimated some of these. 7x7, I'm just gonna quickly do that. Now we move on to OH. So OH is actually quite interesting. As you can see, the single was set in 2019, but the average was set earlier this year. So the single, unfortunately, it's still the same. I don't know why I did that. However, it is still held by Max. And the average, again, obviously held by Max Park. I was a bit off on this one. He actually got a 9.34 world record, so unfortunately I got that wrong as well. Moving on to Pyraminx. This is actually quite interesting if we actually see Pyraminx. The world record holder is still Timon. This was actually in the middle of this year. So he actually doesn't really do Pyraminx anymore, but he still holds the world record, which means he's still incredibly good at Pyraminx. And the world record is still the same. I don't know why I thought that would be broken. Moving on to Skewb, basically how I predicted this was I just found the person who held the current records and I just put their name on it. Clearly I was completely off. So for the single, it didn't break at all, so automatically that is wrong. And for the average, I wrote this guy would have gotten a 1.73 average. I was just 0.13 off with the average, but I got the guy wrong completely. Katakukala recently just got the average earlier this month, so I just completely got Skewb wrong as well. Moving on to Megaminx, I obviously wrote one Pablo Funky with the records, but yes, sadly he didn't get any of them, so he kind of quit cubing if I'm not wrong. So unfortunately none of these world records were broken. For clock at the time I didn't know who Yinhalu was either, but now obviously I do because of Clock League and stuff. For the single, a 2.87 single is absolutely insane. He destroyed it. So I will still make that correct because it's under. Still, Yinhao is probably the best clocker out there, if that makes sense. And for the average, I wrote a 3.48 and it's still a 3.86, so I was a bit off on the average, but the single was quite close. For square one, I just really wasn't bothered, so I wrote a 6.xx. And if we go to square one here, it is a 6.xx, so I guess I got that right. But I got the person wrong. I wrote Maranekdol because at the time he held the world record single, as you can see here. No way, I actually got that right. He still holds the same single. Just less than a week ago actually, Samir Agarwal broke the record for the square one average, which is absolutely insane. And he also actually got a decent amount of money, so if you want to make money from cubing, just get really fast, use good cubes from companies that give you lots of money for breaking records. For 3 blind, I wrote Jack Kai, so if we go to 3 blind, wherever that is, I at the time did not know who Tommy Cherry was, but apparently he's a really good blind solver. So for the records I wrote a 17 mean. He destroyed the mean by far, and he actually got a 15 mean, so that was correct. And for the single, I wrote a 14 single, and I actually also got that correct. So I got the times correct, but I got the person wrong. Now on to 4 blind. So for 4 blind, I wrote a sub 1 mean and single would happen, and I wasn't too far off with the single. That was correct, and obviously this is all done by Stanley Chappell, the best big blind solver in the world. And for the mean, I wrote a sub 1 mean, but the record is still the same from 2019 with a 1 minute and 8 second record, unfortunately. So this is wrong. For 5 blind, all the records are unfortunately still the same, so I have to make this wrong. For multi-blind, I wrote 69 out of 69. Okay, so this was wrong. The record wasn't broken at all, so it's still the same from 2019. And for the last event, we have FMC. So for FMC, I wrote Sebastiano Tronto would have the single with a 15. However, it's actually still 16, so that is wrong. And honestly, I don't really know who's good at FMC, but this guy called Kale broke the record last year with a 20.xx, so the record didn't change from last year. Now I'm going to be making this list for next year. Now that I know a lot more about cubing than last year, hopefully I'll be able to get more of these correct next year. So we're gonna go straight off with the 2x2 record holders. Single could be held by anyone honestly, but the average is obviously gonna be Zane Kanani. And a sub 1 average is actually really possible. Zane had a chance of getting it, but unfortunately he failed. But I know that it's definitely possible. So I'm gonna go with a 0.89 average. It's gonna be pretty hard, but I hope you can get it, Zane. And for the single, I honestly want the single to be broken. All we need is a very lucky scramble in competition and it could be easily done. I think the time will be 0.43, and since it's basically impossible to know who's going to get the single, I'm just gonna write, so everyone with a sub 3 official average, I think you can get the record. Now moving on to the 3x3 world record. I again want the single to be broken really bad, and now it's more possible than ever to get a sub 4 official solve, so hopefully someone will get that. So I think a 3.18 will be possible. Bit of a jump, but I think someone could totally get that. And as for the guy who actually holds the record, I think that could be pretty much anyone, as well as average, of course, anyone could get that. So let's just first predict the average. So the current average is a 5.32. We are pretty close to a sub 5 world record average already, and I think that 1 year is definitely enough time to break that record. So say someone will get a 4.94 world record average. Actually, I'm gonna make it 4.93 just because it's an iconic cubing number. And as for the average world record holders, I'm gonna go to the rankings for the WCA, go to average, and let's see, someone in the current top 10 average ranking for 3x3 will get the world record. Alright, so these people I think can all get the world record. As for the single holder, normally I would just say something like someone in the top 20 or something, but as we all saw, Yusheng Du got the world record with a 7 official average, so pretty much anyone could get the world record average honestly, but I'm gonna say anyone top 100. 4x4 to 7x7, I'm gonna write Max Park for all of these quickly. So for 4x4, we're gonna go with obviously sub 15. I think it could be a 12 for the single. I feel like Max could get around a 16, 15 average, 15 to 16. So we're just gonna go with that. 40 average. For OH, I'm pretty sure Max still holds the records. Yeah, I'm gonna say Max is gonna get these as well, just cause why not? For the average, I think he could get a very low 8 average, 8.1 I'm gonna put. And for the single, I think he could break this record within a year, so I'm gonna say 6.75. For Pyraminx, these guys are pretty good, but since I'm from New Zealand, I'm gonna say Jasper Murray's gonna get these records, well, at least for the average. And as for what world record, that's kind of hard. I'm gonna say that he will get a 1.72 average, cause why not? And the single, I wanna say it's gonna get broken just because of how many people are good, but I don't know if it's gonna get broken, so I'm gonna say 0.91 by the same person. Now we're going on to Skewb. So for Skewb, I don't think we're gonna get a lucky scramble for a while, so Andrew Huang, he can still hold the world record, so that's 0.93 for him. For the average, I don't really know any good Skewbers, so I'm gonna keep it Carter. And I'm going to say that he gets 1.72, so that these two can be the same. For Megaminx, obviously this guy's not getting any more world records, but if we go into Megaminx actually, just cause again I'm on Team New Zealand, I'm gonna put Alexander as the world record single holder. I'm gonna say 26.62, And for the average, I think this person could get it pretty easily. She's already pretty good. I think she'll barely break it with a 30.2. For clock, I'm gonna keep it with Yunhao low again. And I think the average will be 3.47. And for the single, I'm just gonna make it a low to 2.38. Now we're gonna go on to square one. So for square one, I'm gonna say we'll get the average. And I'm gonna say the average will be sub 6 seconds. So I think it could be a 5.8 or 5.9. I'm gonna say 5.84. And as for the single, it could really be anyone nowadays. I'm gonna say David will get the single just because the Australians watching will want David to get the world record. And I'm gonna say it will be a 4.23 single. Moving on to 3 blind, I'm gonna say again Tommy Cherry will get the world records just because I don't really know any other blinders. And for the rest of the blind records, I really don't have any reasons, so you can just watch me quickly fill this out. Now we're gonna do FMC, the final event. I also don't have anything to say for FMC, so I'm just gonna quickly do this. And that's basically all my predictions. So I'm gonna add in a bonus bit here where I am actually down here, I'm gonna write down my goals for the channel. So currently, if we go to my channel real quick, you can see that I have 464 subscribers, and my prediction for next year will be, I really want to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I think we can do that, so I'm gonna say 1,000 subscribers. And for view count, we're gonna say my current view count is this number, so 18,000 and a bit. And my prediction for next year, I want to over double it, so let's do 38,000. That's quite a bit, but I think we can do it. So that's basically gonna be it for this video. If you want to help me reach my goals for subscribers and views, be sure to subscribe, maybe share my video, and maybe rewatch some of my other videos. Thank you to Speedcubing.co.nz for choosing to sponsor me over the past year. Subscribe to them here. Also subscribe to me here. And here's a random playlist. Thanks for watching. Have a great year. Stay safe.